Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Get in the game with the college-branded Venmo debit card. Wreck your team with every tap and earn up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash, a new rewards program from Venmo. No monthly fee, no minimum balance, just school pride and spending power. Get in the game and sign up for the Venmo debit card at venmo.com/collegecard. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. Select schools available. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply at venmo.me/stash terms. Max $100 cash back per month.
All right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the Misfit Nation. Yeah! In a room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Artists with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight, to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up, this is our song. Yeah, this is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed, that's the misstep way. If it's heavy right now, in the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, in the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, in the dark feels cold. It's Aubrey right now, we're the more than you know. 9888, don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fight, to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is fabrication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home, you belong. You belong. You belong. Oh wait, you. Oh wait, you belong.
All right. Let's lean in for a second. St. Patty is lancing upon us. If the energy feeling a little low tonight, good. That means we've got room to turn it up all the way. Because this night here, this is the reset. This is where we shake it off, wake it up, and bring the fire back online. Crew, I know you feel it. That slow start, that quiet vibe. We're not staying there. Not tonight. Not on Tuesday. So let's flip that switch right here, right now. roll your shoulders, crack that smile, turn that volume up, and let's get this energy moving. Misfit Nation, I need you with me. Clap it up. Drop some noise. Bring that heat into the chat. Let's go. Because when this crew locks in, there's no such thing as low energy, only lift off. Steven, Jake, wake up. This is your moment. This is the ToosDay Crüe.
Tuesday.
Hey. Good evening, Steven. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Aaron go bra, my friend.
Aaron go bra.
Happy Tuesday. What's going on, my man?
Not much. Had a great day at work today. Got some stuff done that needed to be done. And
Wait. Did you say you worked today? Wow. I didn't know you did that.
dude, don't give me that. You know better.
I thought I was sitting watching videos and TV shows. And
No, I actually worked today. But, enough about that. You enjoyed your day off, I take it.
I did, sir. I got everything I needed to get done. Yeah. Moving on in life.
What'd you have good for supper?
I made some chicken parm. I had a piece real quick before I came. The wife came home late from work, so we sat down and ate real quick, and here we are now.
Mrs. Holland made. Well, we've got plenty of eggs here at the house.
No, really?
And so Mrs. Holland made a beautiful omelet, and so we had that with some sausage gravy on it, and we're ready to rock now.
Nice.
Ready to rock.
Does she make the sausage gravy herself?
Yeah.
I'm just asking. Some people do, some people don't. I have to ask questions.
Have you ever had canned sausage gravy?
I haven't really had. Maybe at like a restaurant or something. I've never had sausage gravy. That's why I'm asking.
No. It's the good stuff. But hey, what's something that we all do?
Breathe.
Okay, we do that. What do we do when we stop breathing? Come on, Steve.
When we don't breathe, we die.
Exactly. That's something that everybody on this planet has in common. You're gonna die. Period. Well, tonight, our guest, that's what she specializes in. Her name is Leann Thrapp, and she's a nurse, she's a speaker, and an end-of-life doula with over 40 years of experience guiding people and family through some of life's most profound moments. From high-risk birth to hospice care. And she has walked beside individuals at both the beginning and the end of their life. And through her work with New Haven Healing, she combines medical expertise with the holistic practices like Reiki and sound healing to help people find peace, comfort, and connections during life's final chapter. And she's also a champion for veterans at the end of their lives. And we're going to specifically talk about that since we have a lot of veterans on this show. And she just wants to make sure that those who have served our country receive the dignity and compassion they deserve. So without any further ado, let's get Leann Thrapp in here.
Good evening, Leann. How are you?
Good evening, Leann.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. I gave just a little bit of your resume and a little bit of what you do. Why don't you fill the Misfit Nation in on the rest of it? And you just start wherever you want and take us to now if you want to.
Well, I'll do that. Thank you. And I want to start in the land of misfits because I love that name and I've always kind of felt like a misfit. And how I ended up doing the work I do, I'm not really sure. As a young gal being labeled one of the least likely to succeed, and somehow I made it. So had my son very young and raised him myself and became a nurse because I needed to support him and me. And so for 40 years, I've been at the bedside and I love being able to come full circle with the beginning and the end, because we have beginning and ends each and every day. And so for 15 years, I sat with moms who had babies that died, and it wasn't hospice to me. It was actually, thinking about obstetrics and high risk labor and delivery. Death was the last thing on my mind. And it was one of the first things I had to deal with as a very young nurse. It was hard. And the nurse that I was with that very first time was so uncomfortable. The mother was comforting the nurse, and I felt so sorry for the nurse that somehow God gave me that inkling of, you need to master this. And I was at the University of Iowa actually at the time, and they sent us to training. And so it's called Resolve Through Sharing. So I learned how to take care of moms at the beginning of life that had babies that we knew would die in utero during birth or shortly after birth. And about 15 years into that very intense life, I found myself looking for holistic nursing. I had an ankle injury. I had a physician tell me he wanted to put me on antidepressants after I hurt my ankle. And I'm like, no way. Yes, I hurt, but I'm not depressed. I'm empty. My tank is empty. And I just really started trying to figure out what's next in my nursing career. And holistics come up. Hospice kept coming up, and I'm like, I'm not a hospice nurse. I'm a labor and delivery nurse. And in between the two worlds, 20 years now in hospice, I found myself in a healing center in Sedona treating patients with organic vegetarian diet and detoxification. So I watched the body heal naturally, and it was amazing. And so the center up there didn't stay open very long. We're talking the 90s, and a lot was different in the alternative world. I think today it probably would have done very well, because we're a little more open as a society with treating people with organic vegetarian diet and coffee enemas. And so I ended up in hospice care, and it was really hard for me to talk to people about dying because the babies couldn't. And I had to learn that. And now 20 years in, it has just changed me. Both of those areas are meaningful areas of care. There's a profound interconnectedness to coming into the world and leaving this world. We plan coming into the world a whole lot better than we plan going out typically. So, yeah. And now, my life with New Haven, I've been able to do a lot of really pull in a lot of the alternative, even the hands-on part of helping those that are having a tough time die, lay their burdens down so they can die healed.
Okay.
Now,
Stephen,
how do you turn that off when you go home, dealing with people who are dying? You're at work and you're the rock there. How do you turn that off and become a normal person and walk out of that room when you go home?
It's super hard. And as a hospice administrator for many, many, many years, I had a whole team. We'd have 100, 200 patients that we took care of. I got in my car and I would cry. I mean, honestly, it would be like, oh my gosh, I can't, have that stiff upper lip, very much like being a veteran, right? Yeah. And so, no, I learned throughout. I certainly didn't master it early on. I was pretty awful at it. And I had lots of failures in there and health issues come up myself until I got a little older and realized that we all get to do this. Let's learn to do it well. And it just really became a part of who I am. And now I look at it as kind of similar to the beginning of life with the nurse who had a hard time with a mom who was having a baby that died. I could do it. And there are a lot of nurses that can't do hospice, and those of us that can do, and we love it. And now I put their shoes on when I walk into their room or their home, and I take their shoes off when I leave. And it's very easy for me, 40 years in, to give them all the love and attention and support and compassion that I possibly can when I'm in their home, the entire family. And when I leave most of the time. I'm not going to say they don't, I don't have patients and families at night that I worry about them. That's just a part of being a nurse and human, I think. But yeah, I'm a whole lot better at it today than I was years ago.
Yeah, because I have this terrible habit of hiding emotion when people die and everything. I try to be the stronger one and keep people active and moving. And then I'll hear a certain noise or watch a show and I'll think about something and I will just break down. And I was just wondering how you deal with that because you do the same every damn day.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn amazing that you do that and you're here to talk about it. And you look pretty normal.
Well, you know what? Patients and families deserve it. And I think that's, I take my clinical hat off as a nurse a lot and I put my end-of-life doula hat on because they're very different sort of worlds. And I find that what patients and families need most is for me to sit at the bedside and abide with their story and just bear witness to their life and to help them lay burdens down that they've carried a lifetime. And really, I think when I go in empty and I don't care what their history is. I don't care what their home looks like. And believe you me, we go into some pretty not so great homes. It doesn't matter to me because I'm there with them and I can give them everything I have if I go in empty and sit with them and just listen to their life story.
Right.
Now, would it be a true statement to say, okay, somebody says, hey, I want to get into this. This is something that I feel that I could do, and say they're in it for 2 years or whatever, and they just decide that they can't take it anymore. Is this more of a calling than it is a career or a job?
Yeah, I think that kind of depends. I mean, we have nurses come into hospice care and end-of-life care believing that it's a Monday through Friday 8 to 4:30 gig, and it so isn't. The bigger the hospice, the more support they have and the less you have to take call and do all that other stuff. Plus, if you have your own life that you're living and you're under a lot of stress, hospice probably, although it can be lovely, and for me it is, and for a lot of hospice nurses and chaplains and social workers and hospice aides, it is. But yeah, we see a lot of those that believe they can do hospice about 6 months, especially new grads. We never used to hire new graduates, and now hospices are having to do that because we have such a nursing shortage. But typically, what I always found as an administrator too, when you hire somebody that doesn't have end-of-life experience, they may have hospital experience and have worked with people that died in the hospital, which is very different, by the way. It's usually about 6 months that they can either make it or they don't. And so it kind of depends because it definitely grows on you, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that where there's people that can handle it and people that can't.
Yeah.
And I mean, being a nurse period would be stressful for me, but being a nurse that every patient you have is going to die that's got to be something different.
Well, and we're all going to do that. So that's the other thing.
Yes.
It's like we can either do it well or not. And, I'm caring for my parents, helping to care for them, and they're 88. And so, really try to help them make choices that they want to, keep the focus on quality versus quantity. And we tend to feel like more is better, and it isn't. So I think that's a really important piece to this work is helping them make choices, keeping them home as much as possible around their loving family, find out if there's anything left unsaid or undone. And if there is, start talking about it.
Yeah. And from my experience with my father, he declined all pain medication, and because he wanted his mind about him, he wanted to be home as much as possible. And that was good because, lots of conversations, some laughing, some yelling, some crying, but it was good. It was good.
Yeah, it can be a really beautiful experience. I was with someone today and I said to our physician before we went into the room, I said, I think she's willing herself to die. And she's like, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, it's been about 2 weeks. She doesn't really want to get up, doesn't want to eat, drink, very conscious about it. in choosing that herself. Had a conversation with her daughter. She turned 90 and had a conversation with her daughter about it. And today when we were in her room and I said, do you feel like you're dying? She said, no. And I said, are you trying to die? And she said, yes. And the doc was like, oh. I said, I knew it. We sometimes have those knowings, and that was one of them. And then you support them in a whole different way. You tell the staff that are in that community, let her make decisions for herself, give her what she wants when she wants it. She's drinking fluids, whatever food she wants, just surround her with love and encouragement and let her do this her own way.
Yeah. I mean, it's her last few days, few hours, whatever. Yes. Do what you want to do. And I think that's amazing. I think it's beautiful. And
I also reminds me of a veteran that I took care of when you were talking about your dad. And this gentleman was alone, and he was refusing to take his nebulizer, refusing medications for any, pain or anxiety, and absolutely refused to drink his coffee out of a straw because he was too weak to hold the coffee cup up. It's those little things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the only thing he wanted when I was in the room and I was there as a hospice nurse, then I did my assessment and got him some Sprite and some water, which he wanted. And I left and I had that feeling inside, like, go back and finish this. That wasn't done yet. Because I said, I'll see you Friday. And he just kind of waved a finger at me. And I left the room and I went outside and I thought, I got to go back in there. And I put my bag down by the nurse's desk and I went back in and I got on my knees and I'm looking up at him and I said, you're refusing your medication and nebulizer, anything that might help you a little bit. You're refusing to eat. You're refusing to get out of bed. Are you dying? Yes. I hope so tonight, he said. And I said, well, I don't think we get to choose that, but maybe. And he didn't die that night. He died the next night. I said, is there anybody you want me to call? No. Anybody you want to see? No. Anything unsaid or undone? And he said, nope. And he died alone, which is exactly how he wanted to die.
Okay.
Beautiful experience, right?
Yeah. I mean, he got to go the way he wanted to go. Now, you mentioned earlier when we was in the green room that when you're dealing with veterans, treat them a little special. And could you go into that for us?
Yeah. When I started working with veterans in hospice, I've been in hospice about 20 years. So early on, I realized that caring for veterans at the end of life was very different. And so did the National Hospice and Palliative Care Association. And I believe it was right around 2010, they started a program called We Honor Veterans. And so hospices can be a part of this program. It's free, basically. And you have all kinds of educational material on their websites that they give you. And you, as a hospice, team up with the community as well as the VA and all. And they really wanted us, the VA especially, wanted us to learn how to take care of veterans because the majority of veterans die in their home or outside of the VA. So I've been a part of that program for a long, long time in many, many hospices, and I loved that. And it taught me a lot. And most recently, in their We Honor Veterans programs, they have additional information for Vietnam veterans because we realized that Vietnam veterans had a very different end of life experience with all of the post-traumatic stress disorder that they have. They weren't welcomed at home many times. I can't tell you how many times I've said, welcome home, sometimes on a whiteboard with someone who can't communicate or hear, and the tears come. And so with that post-traumatic stress, sometimes moral injuries, part of that as well. Many times they've had burdens from before they ever went to Vietnam. It was sort of like, oh, hey, by the way, you go north to Vietnam or you go south to prison, as a young kid to Vietnam. So they've got all of that stuff before they went to war. their own war before they went to war, right? And so all of those burdens, and I would ask you, as we talk about this, from your perspective, why do you think it is harder for veterans to talk about life and maybe their experience? Why don't they want to share that with people? What do you think as veterans?
Well,
Do you need to be non-veterans or just veterans in general?
I'm speaking for, well, they do. It's a whole lot easier for them to talk to veterans, right? I'm not. I'm not a veteran, and so as a veteran, I say, why do you think it is hard for them to share stories? Whether we're talking specifically at the end of life before they die, right? What do you think?
I think a lot of it is probably shame from because speaking as a veteran myself, and moral injury, feeling ashamed of stuff or feeling morally injured for things that you might think that don't sit right with God or whoever you believe in whenever you cross over to the other side because of stuff that you had to do in war. I think, and they don't want to talk about that because it hurts to bring that up, and it hurts to be vulnerable. And soldiers, they're soldiers. They're not supposed to be vulnerable. And that's my personal take on it.
Yeah, so the PTSD is fear-based and the moral injury is shame-based. So we're dealing with both of those at the end of life. And many times the family will say they don't want to talk about Vietnam or whatever war they were in. They don't want to talk about that. And I know the reason they have terminal agitation and terminal restlessness is because they haven't talked about it and they need to. So when, I ask about, I see the hat or I see a picture on the wall and I can bring that up into the conversation in a very gentle way with them. I always start with, thank you for your sacrifice. And sometimes this one gentleman said, I killed a lot of people. I was a gunner. I killed a lot of people waiting for my reaction. And I just stood there with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really good at it, he said. And I sent me back for a second tour so I could kill a lot more. And I said, you did what you were trained to do. You were in a kill or be killed situation and you did what you were trained to do. Right?
Yeah.
And lay that burden down. If they can't talk to you, you can have the same sort of conversation with veterans. If they have terminal restlessness and agitation and they're already in a coma, that conversation, because those burdens, no matter what they are, need to be laid down so they can die healed. So I have that very same sort of conversation, know as much as I can about where they served and how they served. But even if I don't have that, it doesn't matter because the shame and the trauma, not that we want them to relive it at all. It's being able to lay it down, give it up. You've carried it a long time. It's been a weight you've drugged behind you for a lifetime. Thank you for serving your country and lay that burden down so you can die healed.
Yes. Yes. Now, have you ever, because there's a lot of veterans out there that generally will only open up to another veteran. Have you ever had to bring another veteran in to get them to talk about that?
Pretty rare. And I think it's just the approach. I would if I had to. And I can almost tell once they get to know you, they see you every week. I don't go in full blast, I let them talk about what they want to talk about. This gentleman that I said didn't want to drink coffee out of a straw, him and I had a couple conversations about his experience as a veteran, but not a lot. But I brought it up each time, when we talked about it, just, serving your country and thank you for your sacrifice, and would just say it like that. And so that way it sort of opens that door if it comes up again, because sometimes veterans have dealt with their stuff, they have. They have laid those burdens down. They're dealing with it. It's very different from person to person and veteran to veteran, because non-veterans can have PTSD and moral injury and all those other things that come along with it at the end of life and have the same sort of issues. And so regardless of what it is, medication doesn't always help it, because it's a soul to soul talk, right? It's like that sacred space of when the body fails, the soul speaks.
Yes. And I tell you, that says a lot about you and your personality and the way that you handle things, to go in there and gain that trust that they will open up to you. That says a lot. And thank you for that. Thank you for taking care of our brothers and sisters that way.
Yeah. Well, my great-grandfather talked very little about World War I, and he had the Spanish flu in 1918. And a French woman took him in her barn and covered him with blankets and straw and fed him broth. My uncle says mostly water, because they didn't have food then, through it with a spoon, and helped him heal in her barn. And I thought, gosh, if she can help Grandpa in 1918, I'm going to help as many veterans as I can. And I try to do my very best. And it's pretty rare that you have, I don't have conversations if they absolutely say, I don't want to talk about it. What I say at that point is, if you need to, you can call me and I'm happy to come back. But I never force that conversation. You can't. They don't trust you. They can sniff out a phony in a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they can also tell if you're really, really interested, because I brought it up a couple months ago, a customer in my shop, and Vietnam veteran, and he was just grumpy, and I started talking to him, and I don't want to talk about this, I want to talk about that, and after 20 minutes he was talking to me about everything. All because I stood there and paid attention to him. I showed an actual interest in what he did and what was going on, and he just stood there talking, and he wouldn't stop. Telling me, and his biggest problem with life, it wasn't even the war; it was what happened when they came home. Yes. That really changed it. It wasn't the fact that he was out there and shooting people; it was the fact that what the United States did to him when he came back home. And like I said, I just showed interest, and he just opened up, and he wouldn't stop talking. After he told me, I don't talk about this, I don't do this, and boom, all of a sudden,
yeah, it's a beautiful gateway into those conversations. And like I say, I've had that on whiteboards before, when I see a hat and the patient can't hear me because he's very hard of hearing, and I write "Welcome home." And I will tell you, I cry too. I'm not going to lie. It's just the way it is. And then thank you for your sacrifice. And it's a beautiful thing. And we have pinning ceremonies for them as well through the We Honor Veterans program. So it's a beautiful opportunity to thank them.
Yes. And, everybody, people will say, I get tired of people thanking me for my service. Maybe they do, but you know what? Tell them anyway. Everybody likes to feel appreciated. And we are live on TikTok this evening, and we got to give a shout out to a former guest of ours that was on there, and author Betsy Ross. Betsy, if you're out there, hi. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Betsy.
And we have a question for you that came in. Let me pull it up. Very True wants to know, after 40 years of nursing and hospice care, what life lessons have stayed with you the most? Thank you for the question, Very True.
Yeah, thank you for that. We live our life with regrets. We live our life with holding shame and blame with so many times. ticked off about how we grew up or what we had or what we didn't have. And I've realized myself that in order to be healed and to heal from the inside out and to be healthy emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically, I have to let go of stuff that I no longer have control over. And that's most of life, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the past, because the minute the present is, you say it's the present, it's now the past too. And so we carry those life burdens of just stuff that either wasn't our fault. Sometimes it was our fault. And we have to lay that, we have to be done with that at some point and cross that threshold of I'm going to heal and I want to live my best life every day. And in order to do that, I need to figure out a way inside to have room for that hurt, whatever it was, but also make room for new. It's like peace and pain can sit side by side, no matter what that was. And it's a job, but you're worth it.
Yeah. Yes, very much. Now, do you feel that people, as they get, and I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that a good portion of your patients or your clients are elderly?
Depends.
Yeah.
We see it all.
When the end comes near, do people, because I know a lot of them probably still, might harbor a lot of anger against something or against someone. Do they find it hard to let that anger go, or, because I've dealt with this before, and they just want to hold on to that anger. They don't want to let it go. By golly, I'm going to die angry. And, how can you help them let that go?
Yeah, it's a tough call because medication typically doesn't help. It makes it worse. And so really it's trying to sit with that energy when a lot of times that energy's been pretty ugly energy most of their life, right?
Yeah.
And they've probably exhausted, a lot of times with veterans too, they've exhausted all of their family and their friends, and they're isolated because of it. They use numbing agents their whole life, and now those numbing agents can't bury those feelings anymore. So you do the very best you can. And usually there's enough fear when death is right here that you can just have another conversation. And sometimes it's not as much saying you need to do this, but just let that burden go. Let that burden go. Try to find some connection. Is there a cross on the wall? What do they believe happens when you die? I start having conversations like that. So my conversation can pivot if it possibly can.
Yes. Now, we've talked about the person that's going to die. What about all the drama with all the family? Because
it's hard.
I was going to say that could probably run the gambit of everybody's accepted it to nobody's accepted it.
Yeah, it's a tough one because in end of life care, we always think that our mom or dad can walk again or is going to have the quality of life that they had after some sort of insult. So something happened. They're in the hospital. They are different. They are changed pretty much forever. So it is hard for kids to say, we want therapy. We want physical therapy. I'm sure dad can walk again. And what I see is someone who has horrible dementia, almost in a fetal position that probably isn't going to walk again, but I can't say those things. What I say in a very gentle way is I think it would be very taxing on your father to try to walk or even get therapy. But we could do maybe an evaluation to see what the physical therapist thinks. So you kind of meet him halfway and have the physical therapist say that probably isn't going to help. But in a very gentle way, I just try to bring them back around to talk about the body slowing down, to talk about that the body knows how to do this if we leave it alone. Less medical intervention, the better at the end of life, because bodies know how to die. We don't need food and fluids. We want to shove food and fluids in. The body dies naturally, just kind of like birth starts naturally if we leave it alone, but we don't do that anymore either. We schedule C-sections when it's convenient for a doctor. And so end of life is kind of the same. We want to, and it's hard not to feed and give your loved one fluids. And I always tell families, give them what they want when they want it, but the body doesn't need a whole lot right now. Needs change. So you don't have to force it in. Their body doesn't know how to break it down anymore. And it makes them more uncomfortable. And in all actuality, when you dehydrate the body a little bit, the brain releases endorphins that take pain away. So the body's pretty smart. The body keeps the score. Bessel van der Kolk says that in his book. I don't know if you've read his book, but body keeps
I have not.
Yeah.
I have not. Now, I have heard, I do not know if it's true or not, that at the end or close to the end, people will start preparing to travel. You know, if they're coherent, if they know the end is near, and they'll start talking about traveling, or they'll start making plans to go somewhere. Is that their subconscious telling them, hey, we're fixing to get on the train?
Yeah, interesting, because that's the same part of kind of the brain, and the same thing that happens with PTSD with veterans and anybody. So the conscious mind gets weaker and the unconscious mind gets stronger, right? And so that trauma comes up, and very similar to as the unconscious mind. So they see people that we don't see. They see people that have died. They do talk about traveling. They're waiting for the bus, the cab, the truck, waiting for somebody. I often have a conversation about, do you feel like you're kind of outside of your body sometimes? And it's just a real gentle way of getting an idea of how close or not they are to end of life, because you see people like, kind of picking and staring off, and it scares the heck out of people sometimes when they're not expecting it. But yeah, it does happen. If they tell you they're going on a journey and a trip, trust them. They do a lot of times. Sometimes they don't, though.
Okay. All right. And like I said, I'd always heard that. I just didn't know how true that was.
Yeah. Happens a lot.
I don't know how I'd be able to handle that.
What's that?
So I don't know how I'd be able to handle that. Sit there, like telling me you're going. And
that's
scared the hell out of me just you telling that story.
Yeah, it does bring up a lot of our own feelings, doesn't it? Well, that's part of the challenge in this work, is to sit and to bear witness when you want to run. When you are in that threshold and you don't know what to say. And now, after all these years, I don't feel like I need to run out of there. I can sit and bear witness with them and have a conversation about, what that might feel like. And, also that I haven't done it. So, but what I've heard, and what I will tell you that those who are dying have said before, let them, because that gives them comfort as well. But most of the time, death can be a beautiful, gentle, loving experience. That's what we want.
Yes. And Stephen, we got another question in there.
Yes, we do. Are you putting it up or am I?
I'll put it up. You can read it.
At Hank Jr. wants to know, what exactly does an end-of-life doula do, and why is this role becoming more important today? Thank you for that question, Hank Jr.
Yeah, thank you. Most people hear of birth doulas, where mothers can hire a doula to prepare for the birth and after birth. End of life doulas, it's been, I'm thinking 2010-ish or so, you started hearing more about end of life doula and death doulas. And so the end of life doula is a non-medical support for patients. And you don't have to be on hospice. You don't have to be dying to hire an end-of-life doula. We do a lot with legacy work, which is really at the end of life a good thing, because what sort of legacy do you want to leave? And they can start working on legacy work and, kind of what's meaningful for them. And, what's important for them, writing letters to family members. If you can't tell somebody how you feel, write down letters. And so there's all kinds of legacy projects that doulas work with, and they're different. I mean, doulas are very different. You don't have to be a nurse to be an end-of-life doula. So it's non-medical support is the best way to describe it.
All right. And I read that you're working on a book that's forthcoming called Cradled on Both Sides.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I tell you, I somehow, some way, many years ago, started just writing stories down that impacted me in my life. And my life has been so rich at the beginning of life in labor and delivery, and that in between of holistic health and watching bodies try to heal that had had cancer, radiation, and surgery 2 or 3 times and didn't heal, and how that changed me, and how people came to holistic care as a last resort instead of a first resort. Mm-hmm. And then in hospice care. And I thought, I don't see myself as a writer. I see myself as a storyteller. And I thought I can tell my stories and have someone help me put it together as a book. So it's truly ended up being stories that have shaped me, and how my personal life and my professional life have been so intertwined with grief and loss and life. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm working on the cover right now. So it's like almost there, almost ready to birth that baby.
Send us an email when it comes out, because I buy books. That's what I do.
I think, when I think about it being raw and not all that gentle in places, but really from the time I was sitting with my first patient when I was 16 years old in a nursing home, scared to death. So yeah, it's my life and has been. So yeah, thank you for asking. It's very exciting.
Yeah. Well, good. I tell you what, writers, artists, anybody who can express themselves that way, that amazes me. I do not have that gift, so I can't. And people that do, it really amazes me.
Well, I'm surprised at how I kept very detailed journals my whole life for this very moment, for such a time as this. I pulled journals out and stories that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah. And I probably needed to start journaling younger. I do a little bit now, but not near like I should. And that way I can remember things, when I don't remember things now. I can't imagine what it's going to be like 10, 20 years from now.
It's a great thing to leave for your kids too, right? I think we have a huge opportunity now as families to have difficult conversations, about the good and the bad and the ugly. And all of that can become a very beautiful time. So no matter how we grew up or what a home was like, honoring what we had and being okay with the life that we grew up with, and not trying to change it, and not trying to point fingers at the good and the bad and the ugly, but really how on the other side of all of that can be a beautiful time in a family's life. And that whole movement through life together as a family is a beautiful gift that we can have.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is. I'm going to pop another question up there, Stephen, for you.
There you go. And Dusty Holloway wants to know, how do holistic practices like, is it Reiki? Is that my
Reiki?
Okay.
Yeah.
Reiki, okay.
Yeah.
And sound healing support people emotionally and spiritually at the end of life? Thank you for that question, Dusty Holloway.
I love that question. Sound and frequency is very important and can be very healing. So that's important because we're all a frequency. Some music that you hear, it can be, the hard rock stuff can be like, it's a frequency that you just go, oh, but there's very calm frequencies with music and with tones, voices. It very much intertwines with Reiki, which is really hands-on healing. And I always describe it as kids, when we fell down, our mom would come and put her hand, or our father would put their hand on that place that we fell. And I realized in Sedona, and actually on mom's tummies many years ago, that my hands would get so dang hot. And I'm like, what in the world is that? And I discovered it's kind of a real thing, and that I don't control the temperature. That body that my hand is on controls that temperature. And so I started discovering Reiki, which I took classes many years ago. And it's really tapping into universal life force energy that we all can tap into, and put our hands even on our heart and feel the warmth come off of our hands, or the coolness, or whatever that may be. And there's something very comforting. My hands go on a body and a heart almost instantaneously when I walk into a room, especially if someone is having a tough time breathing or talking, or they're emotional, and it just provides comfort to them with that energy sort of that doesn't want to flow in the body, and getting that energy to sort of stagnant energy, which causes pain a lot of times. So those that aren't dying, we hold grief in our body, and Reiki energy and music actually, and grief movement helps move grief out of the body, so we can live without all of that suffering, so to speak. So it's a holistic approach to healing, done with these beautiful little hands that we all have.
Okay. All right. And another one.
Here we go. Chantrell Hawkins wants to know, what message about living fully would you want listeners to take away from the stories you witnessed?
Yeah.
Thank you, Chantrell.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It really, in my mind, goes back to living our best life unconditionally. When we put conditions on people, we're going to be disappointed so many times. And so I think live simple, live soft, I call it. We don't have to be in a hurry all the time, which my son used to say, why are you in such a hurry all the time? And I was for all these years, living, I gotta make that next promotion. And I realized that really what we need to do is sit back and think about what's important to us and our priorities, and make sure that those priorities happen. And they're usually pretty simple priorities, I think. Sometimes it's money and all of that stuff, but you can't take any of that with you. So it gets to be very simple. What makes you happy, what people make you happy, what in life makes you happy, and who stresses you out, because a lot of times it's friends or family, and you just really come up with some very strong boundaries, and don't go around people that stress you out, and live your best life being happy with a smile on your face, because your body doesn't know if you're happy. Your brain doesn't know if you're happy or not, if you're smiling and laughing, right? Doesn't know the difference. And so don't get too caught up in what we don't have, and stay focused on what we can have and do have.
All right.
That makes sense.
That sounds like words to live by.
It is.
And I'm trying to make a conscious, because personally, if I make a conscious effort to be happy, my body feels better.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
That's that energy thing. Again, it's sort of that frequency of when you're living in joy and love, the frequency is much higher. When you're in anger and fear and ticked off and shame, it's a very low frequency. And so you don't feel good.
Mm-mm.
All right, so let me ask this question. My boss brought this up to me because people tend to think I'm a miserable person sometimes. You know, I have RBS at work, and he said if the phone's ringing, before you answer the phone, if you smile, you sound more pleasant to the person you're talking to. If you smile before you answer the phone, does that sound about right?
It's true.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And
I
You
like
know,
that.
I smile a lot anyway, and a lot of people don't smile back. And I'm to the point where I don't really care if they smile because it makes me feel good to smile. And the more, to me, it's about choice. You know, it's about that quiet courage of, you know, keep going forward, whether you get a smile or not. And maybe that's the first time someone has seen a smile today.
yeah,
We don't
and
know.
it might be the only one they see
Yeah.
today.
We don't know what's going on behind those eyes of theirs. And, you know, sometimes it's just a soft touch or a smile or a, you know, a gentle hello or letting them go in front of you or whatever that may be, to that compassion and, you know, kindness that we need more of. And shut the TV off, you know, and spend time alone.
Okay.
Play
All right,
with
we
your
got
little
one
trumpet.
last question coming in before
we do?
we start to wind down. Lou and Luna wants to know what unique challenges do veterans face during end-of-life care? Thank you for that question, Lou and Luna.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that comes to the forefront immediately is if they haven't had the opportunity and have never wanted to share their experience and their burdens, that what they saw and had to do themselves or was done to them, at some point they need to lay that down, whether it's before they went to Vietnam or wherever. You have to lay those burdens down. So when they're programmed in their mind not to talk about it and not to go there because it will and can potentially trigger PTSD, and they don't want to do that. They've numbed themselves out for a long time. You just help them open up as much as they can and don't push it. It's in their court, I guess is the best way to say it. You just try to be present and try to be silent, talk less, listen more.
Okay. All right. Well, we're about out of time. And this has been very fun. It's been informative. And I tell you what, I don't think I could do what you do. I don't know how you do it. And but I thank you for doing it, and especially taking the time for our veterans and helping them with their end of life and helping them transition. But before we go, I have a few questions for you. The first one's easy. If somebody wants to contact you, how do they do it?
If you go to newhavenhealing.org, my website, you can contact me through my website, or LinkedIn or Facebook, Facebook is not New Haven, it's Leann Thrapp. Both of those are by Leann Thrapp.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now for the next question. What 3 things does Leann have to do every day that are non-negotiable, or your day is not complete?
Yeah, I can live this life and my best life getting up early, whatever that hour is, to spend time with God and to do my little Bible study alone with my cup of coffee. That's first, because I know if I do that and when I do that and I don't miss that the rest of the day will be a great day. I stay focused on what I can change versus what I cannot change, and try my hardest to treat people like I want to be treated, and be as proactive, being kind and generous and compassionate to those around me that I can. And I tune out the TV, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, hey, this has been, I thought it was going to be a very somber show, but it's not.
No.
It was beautiful, and what you're doing, I think is a great service to these people, and I am sure that them and their families really appreciate it. And before we go, I want to just address the Misfit Nation real quick. Hey, y'all, just like always, if you're out there and you are feeling down, you don't have, you don't think that you want to move on to the next day, please do not make that permanent solution to a temporary problem. Call somebody, call a friend. If you don't want to do that, dial 988. If you're a veteran, take option 1 because we want you here. And when you take that option, when you dial 988, somebody on the other end of that line will help you. If you don't want to call them, get in touch with us. Jake at themisfitnation.com, Steven at themisfitnation.com, info at themisfitnation.com. Drop your number. We'll get in touch with you, and we will try to get you the help you need. Leann, great having you on here tonight. Misfit Nation, thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the flip side.
Real quick here, we need to answer Bama Sucks 9. They want to know what happened. And you're asking us, the crew, what's happened to you? You're no longer full of energy. You seem to have lost your mojo.
Well,
I don't think I've lost my mojo. I maybe I didn't jump at the screen tonight. And we're excited to be here. I love being here.
Yeah, and hey,
maybe it was my RBS. I don't know.
Maybe it was the topic.
Maybe
it was the topic. Also, I don't know, but
maybe it was my meditative voice.
But I can tell you one thing, Bama Sucks. One of the reasons was it's been a while since we've seen you. And I always looking forward to see your screen name pop up because I love that one, buddy. Well, hey.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Great chat. And thank you for what you do, really.
Yeah, you're very
good luck on that book.
Thank you.
Good luck on that book.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.